What is going on, everybody? I'm going to be working on our good friend, the OWLBEAR. This is going to be an attempt at a 1 hour-ish speed paint. These, you never know how they're going to turn out. This one I'm going to try something suggested by a subscriber, Inquisitor Zane. And we're going for the Swamp OWLBEAR in maybe kind of a green palette. Green and brown, I think. So it's going to be pretty unique as far as it's not something I've done before. And I think it'll be pretty interesting. So, as always, if you're watching this in the future, feel free to comment on the video. Oh, what up? What up, Zane? Yeah, it's Swamp Bear time. So, Inquisitor Zane is in the chat. He's the one that suggested the Swamp OWLBEAR. Just trying to get some colors ready before I start. So things I might think I'll need is Army Painter Military Shader, Contrast Medium Militarum Green, or Contrast Paint, Base Paint Death World Forest, which is super just like ready to go in the garbage, but we're going to try to make it work anyway. I have this in air too. So if we do like this color and we can't make it work, I have it over here and I can still try it. Although it looks kind of different. Oh well. So we got Gorgruntifer and Wildwood, and I think that's going to be kind of the start of the attempt here. I also turned down the brightness and stuff a little bit. And I think it looks a little better. I don't think the white palette's as blown out white. So hopefully everything's easier to see. So as always on my little stream here, we're trying to improve. Yeah, I might grab these too. They got olive green from Game Air here. And who knows, maybe Goblin Green from Game Air or Model Air. And I think that's about where we start. Let me see if I got another green wash here. Well, I know I got some, I got the or what's it called? What's the GW green wash called again? Camo Shade. I think I have Camo Shade. Of course, right after you start your video, who knows, you can't find it, right? So we might just be pretending that we don't have Camo Shade, even though I know I do. But I think the problem is I don't have Camo Shade. Yep. So the problem is I didn't have Camo Shade in the big bottle, but I still got a little bit in the little bottle. Painting everything for eBay. Yeah, that's a good idea. I love sell. I'm going to sell this guy on eBay when he's done. So let's just go with some of these greens and browns. I just went through them all for the video. If you just joined, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, like, comment, join the chat for sure. Even though I'm trying this in an hour or so, I don't, it doesn't bother me like to take a break and chit chat. If I don't make it right on time, it doesn't make any difference to me. Craig Tuff is in the building. Sunny Scotland. Thanks, Ann. Enjoying the videos in lockdown? Yeah, I've been doing, we're kind of on social distancing, self-quarantine, essential businesses only here in Phoenix for the most part. And I've been hitting the streams. The streams are actually getting me really motivated to be painting at night, which has been super valuable to me too. So it's been really fun because like it'd be really easy for me to not paint this tonight and just watch YouTube. But since I turned on the stream, we're going to give it a shot and we're going to try to get him painted up. Right? So that's kind of a fun way to do it. I'm not on, he's a little baffling to me. So I think I'm just going to start slapping paint on him and we'll go from there. So if anybody's keeping track at home, I think we're going to start at 7 minutes. So at an hour and 7 minutes, we'll see if we got them done. I don't think we will, but we'll see. Yeah, I feel like generally on eBay, you get a better deal as a buyer if you buy larger amounts. So if you had like an army, you're probably better off selling it squad by squad. Because if people are going to buy the whole army, they'll probably want some sort of discount on it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this 20-second head start. I'm just using a beat up GW wash brush here. You know what? Actually, I think I have a really big brush. I do. This brush is not good. Now instead of my 20-second head start, I'm taking it. Oh no, we're right on time. There we go, 7 minutes. I'm using this cheapo random brush I got, I think on Amazon or eBay or something. It says it's Kolinsky Sable. It's clearly not. It's like camel hair or something maybe. But it's big and it's soft. So this one should speed up this initial process. I'm going to start kind of the same way where I think I'm going to just do the kind of feet and hands dark with kind of the light stomach. But we're going into the greens for this, so should be interesting if it works. Could look really cool. I feel like it, you know, kind of forest greens and browns. I mean, that sounds cool. The only thing I'm concerned with is because I don't have a clear plan, it's going to be hard to kind of balance the green back and forth with the brown. All right, we're just going to, yeah, I think this big brush definitely is speeding up my initial, ooh, I put a lot on that hand. Speeding up the initial layers here. Last time we really took like 8 minutes to just get the little paws done. So there you go. Get one of these big, cheap size 8, it says, brushes. And you can be slapping that contrast paint on. Gabriel in the building. Nice. Painting a griffin. That's like the more classic version of this guy. I think griffins are older than owlbears in fantasy lore, maybe. All right, so I think we're just, right now we're using contrast wildwood, and we're, a lot of this isn't too crazy. Just trying to basically pull out some shadows. I might pull it around his shoulders a little bit. And I picture maybe, I think we'll probably do the same face markings as the other one. I thought that was pretty good. All right, so yeah, the secret to painting these bears really fast is a gigantic brush. Well, we got a busy party tonight. We got 4 people in the viewing. No idea who OWLBEAR is. I think we're going to jump to Militarum Green. On this stream, I turned down the brightness a little bit, I think. I think it did. So let me know. This seems like it's less blown out. The palette was so white and blown out. So I think it looks better now. I think everything's clearer. Now, I think we're going to just do the green all over him pretty much and go from there. We'll leave the kind of lighter feathers again. Sorry, I'm not doing a new kind of markings on his fur, but I don't have a super clear vision of what this is going to look like when it's done. So I'm trying to stick with maybe a pattern I tried before. Which was kind of the similar, basically the pattern I did last time. Any parts where this kind of mixes or overlaps with the brown is probably a good thing for us. Overall, the end. Oh, also, Craig, on the these streams, I think they've been good for the channel. Like my watch time has gone up and my views are better than they were. I mean, I haven't been putting up as many of my kind of normal talking videos, but I did always want to be kind of more of a painting channel anyway than like a ranting or news channel. But sometimes I just feel like I want to rant about Games Workshop. So it's also funny that this quarantine sold me some Warcry miniatures, because I've been sitting here thinking about, oh, what games do we want to play when this quarantine's over? And a lot of my friends had bought into Warcry. When I say a lot of my friends, there's basically a group of 4 of us that play at the game store. You know, like there's random board games and different things. But so the other 3 guys got Warcry stuff, and I got some of the cards, but I never built a warband or anything. And I decided, you know, it might be fun to maybe once this is over, we could do like a narrative campaign. So I picked up the Unmade, which is like those really grotesque, like self-tortured warband. So this brown like ran all the way over his chest, so that's interesting. Anywhere we got kind of the brown-green on our brush, we're going to try to blend it. It's easier for the brown to blend over the green, obviously. The green can't really blend over the brown. All right, he's cruising. Something's happening. I'm going to go with Gun Corpse Brown from P3. Awesome. The ghost brush worked its way back into a point. That's awesome. We're going to stick with our big brush here. I'm going to get, oh, where the heck is it? Get my water cup going. Well, Zane, it looks like half your buddies left. We had a good run. We're back down to 2. Yeah, so I don't know what I've been doing with my life, painting owl bears with small brushes. This big brush is putting in some work. We're going to go for a swamp base. I think we're going to start with a lighter brown, and that way we can darken it with maybe some washes and stuff. The only thing I'm concentrating on a little bit is trying not to cover his fur at all. But still, oh, it's going to be hard to get in there. I want to try and get all this basing material covered, all the primer. And I don't know how we're going to get there. Maybe we can go from the other side. Or I'm going to have to switch paint brushes. All right, so one disadvantage of the big brush is it's actually pretty hard to get it into some of these little areas. No. It's like all right, we got quite a bit on his leg, but I think we got the area, so at least we got it. We didn't do a good job on getting it, but I think we got it. Trying to use the wet paint to hopefully just flow into these areas I'm trying to get without having to actually, because this brush doesn't hold much of a tip at all. It's a big mop. Oh yeah, the metal marines be cool. I saw some at LVO, some at the Turbo Dork booth. They had kind of metal examples. Well, it looks like we're missing a spot here. Maybe we can, nope. All right, we missed a little bit on the inside of his paw. Or this is just going to be that joy of white spots showing up again. Although this guy was primed way different. He was primed black, gray, and then white ink. So he's got more of a zenithal prime. Yeah, I think the metallic marines can look cool. You can try some of the color shift paints and stuff. And I think he's going to go kind of to a bone color. I'm going to put a drop of goblin green. Maybe some dead flesh. I'm going to actually put a touch of that goblin green in that dead flesh. Maybe one more touch. It's kind of like a bone color, but it has a green tint to it. And we're kind of letting it mix. There's no worries there because if it mixes, that just gives us kind of some blending effects. Cool. So he's got kind of a greenish bone color. I think we'll maybe hit his mustache. This kind of triangle on his head, I think, will be okay to pick up. And these kind of longer wings here. I don't actually know, but can owlbears fly? Like in Dungeons and Dragons? I don't really play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I haven't played much. I played once, or for a couple weeks in a campaign maybe a year ago now. And that was the first time I played in probably 15 years or something. Hey, you asked last stream if owlbears could fly? Or am I behind on the chat? So we're just using the... Oh, also, anybody watching, the Scale 75 just launched their Kickstarter today. And it's... I can't remember what it's called. Instant Color, I think they called it. And it appears... they haven't come out right and said it, but it appears to be Scale 75's kind of competition to contrast paint. It's Scale 75 contrast paint is what it looks like, to be exact. And I totally jumped in and backed it because I mean, if you've seen some of these streams, I like the contrast paint. I think it's pretty cool. So we got the bear kind of blocked in. Probably have to actually... No, we can't waste time. We can't wait and let him dry. So I'm going to go to another bone color. How about I don't know. What kind of bone color? Maybe just like a real standard one, a Shopty bone. We'll try that. So this is where we're at now. Well, yeah, that's what I'm doing here, right? Is I'm just using it as a wash, but I'm painting with washes, basically. We'll go size 6, ghost brush, Shopty bone, a little bit of water. See if we can't knock out these claws. One thing on these kind of speed paint exercises, I don't know if I'm learning some skills, but I'm also using some of my go-to fallback kind of skills of like, I'm going to do these claws about the exact same way I've done them before. Right. Just kind of a tried and true. Whereas if I was going slow, I might mess around and try something new. Although when it comes to like talons and claws, I honestly don't know how much I mess around because it's the messing around's probably just going to be like what washes I use. It's hard to see when I get this bottom foot, but it's hard for me to see as well. Oh, it's okay. And the paint's, there's thinned down with a touch of water, but I am trying to get this in basically one coat coverage. That's mainly for speed, but that's how I would paint most of the time anyway in this stage. Only a couple spots that are kind of risky on this guy to mess up, and both those back feet are the spots, really. Oh, it looks like he's got one more little claw here. Okay. So we got that in. I think we might go ahead and use this bone color to get his beak too. I'll probably tint this beak a little, maybe yellow or something, just give it that kind of standard. Oh, this is a cartoon bird yellow beak. Not bright yellow, but and maybe that's probably about right for now. I'm going to take dead flesh on the palette. A little bit more of that goblin green in it. I think that was called goblin. Yeah, goblin green. And I'm just going to put some kind of stripy marks. It's almost like a highlight on these feathers. Which is already going to help build our highlight. When we get to it later. And maybe a little bit on his chest. Oh, he got his paw pretty good on accident. I think I'm going to go back to the wildwood contrast. Welcome any new person in the chat. I see a couple people are watching. We're attempting a speed paint of the owl bear. I've been going for 20 minutes about. Surprised I already been going that long. I thought it was actually much less than that. Trying to do an hour, but just based on it already being halfway done almost, I don't think there's any chance he's going to be done in an hour. But maybe we can go for 2 hours. That's not too bad. Actually, the splattering on his feet might not be too bad either. That could be maybe sold as kind of a mud effect. Wasn't necessarily the plan, but it might look okay. Any part he's kind of overlapping, like his beard, I'm trying to darken. This area is a little too wet. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait on that, but try to darken where he kind of folds his fur around his head, kind of frames him basically. Kind of exaggerate the shadow of his kind of armpit and his shoulder rolling around it. There we go. Maybe pick out like where these kind of long feathers go, so that way you kind of tell that they're overlapping something. And just on him too, we'll do it on here where these kind of short feathers end and they kind of get longer. This might look a little too kind of sketched out on him, but that's okay. We're going for the crazy swamp owl bear. All right, I think that's okay. I think I need to put some white out on the palette. We're gonna go with dead white just because it's right in front of me. What up, Kyle? How's it going? You got any questions? Put them in the chat. It appears my white is clogged. So we got to get out super thumbtack. Super thumbtack is about perfect for these. You got to hold on though, because it can pull off the actual top. These are just like the largest thumbtacks you can get in like the office supply store for like hanging, I don't know, posters or something. And I just keep one nearby because it seems to be perfect for opening up clogged paint or opening up scale 75 paint. So we're going to take some of that white, mix it with our dead flesh goblin green mix. Trying to get this. There we go. Now it's pretty light. We can get a little bit more dramatic effect. Because I do want to wash it. He almost has kind of like he's a little tropical, like a little parrot almost. I don't know, parakeet maybe? Some kind of forest or jungle parrot. Which actually would be pretty cool if I looked up parrots before this. I could have maybe come up with maybe some pop colors to put in. Maybe we'll do that later. The airbrush thinner for making a wash. My go-to if I'm making a wash or turning an ink to a wash is going to be the flow improver, the airbrush flow improver. But actually, a friend of mine just recently said the Vallejo airbrush thinner plus ink can make a good like pin wash to try to fill in all those little cracks on like Space Marine vehicles and Eldar vehicles and Necron vehicles and stuff. But I would think maybe you could do it either way. Let's see if we can we're just seeing if this yellow should be dry, but it looks like it's been reactivated enough by rubbing my brush on it. So we're going to go ahead and tint his beak yellow. Yeah, he does. Well, he'll get probably darker when I wash him, but right now he does have a cool parakeet kind of look to him. Like if he was, I mean, he hasn't been dry brushed or anything yet. And actually, I know for a fact this guy is going to be probably not finished because we haven't even got to like dry brushing him yet or nothing. Let's go with, just for fun, we'll do transparent burnt umber ink. Yeah, hopefully this is fun. We're going back to the big brush and we're gonna just slap a wash over this kind of cream color we did earlier. I probably put way too much in my little... Ugh. Well, that's okay. I'm getting it on his toenails a little bit too much, but I think it's okay because they haven't been highlighted yet or washed. And with this kind of big model and all this basing stuff I put on these little slate rocks, you got to make sure you kind of soak it in and get in between all the little cracks. All right, there we go. Now he's on more of a dark brown surface. Honestly, this guy could be a tropical one if I just had, I mean, I could look it up, but if I looked up a reference image of like where maybe the red feathers would be, you know, even if I just did like red feathers, like a couple on his face and like a pattern of them down the center of his back or something. But I don't know if I'm that brave right now. Let's put that brush down. We're going to go back to our bone color and just try and clean up any of our toenails we just covered. And we still got to wash the toenails. This definitely feels like a hairdryer one would be in order. He looks pretty wild. He's got kind of a mint, he kind of looks mint, like mint berry crunch. Thin mint cookies. I went to the store today and I didn't buy cookies like I was saying I was gonna. I held strong. I didn't get any junk food. Totally regret it now. All right, I feel like, I don't know. Maybe we'll make a light blue. I feel like maybe I screwed up the order of doing this, and now I'm making an off-white here. Oops, getting it all over my glove. And by screwing up the order, what I mean is, oh, actually, I think I want his eyes bright green, maybe. Do we want his eyes gray blue or bright green? Let's just see what they look like with this. I think we're going to go bright blue. Or not bright blue, but gray blue. Yeah, actually, that's probably the downside of my super big brush, actually, is now he's not, I don't think he's dry enough to start washing and blending him together. Or else I'm going to smear it all over. So we might have to sit for a second. Maybe I could get his fingernails. But even his fingernails I can't really get because the ones near the base are wet. Yeah, I think I kind of messed up my speed paint as far as how I should have maybe worked in the order. That way some of this would have been dry. Or how, maybe because I used the big brush. Yeah, I think maybe because I used the big brush, the paint is just not drying quite as fast. We might take like a really bright green, like this light livery. It's almost like a neon green. It doesn't show you quite on camera how neon green it is, I don't think. But he'll look pretty tropical then if we take those green highlights up. You know what maybe we can do is put some stuff on his base. So I'm going to go to Black Templar contrast paint. And I'm going to use this just to somewhat base coat the rocky area. That way it'll be a little bit more ready for dry brush. To say like this is rocks, the rest is mud kind of thing. Yeah, I think originally we were talking and you suggested the bright green, which I think would look pretty cool. We'll see. We might change it later. My thought is, even though he's kind of minty now, he was going to probably get much darker. One way to add weight to the model is just put a dark like wash or paint underneath their feet. We'll kind of blend it out. That might, but now it looks like he's stepping there. Makes him look heavier. And not just for big models, but even just little guys. If you kind of darken where they're standing, it gives them a sense of like a cast shadow right where their feet are. But it's better with like a wash, so it's kind of a more subtle effect and not just a hard black line. Yeah, he's gonna get darker. I think I'm gonna go Athonian camo shade over his whole body, because I think my Athonian camo shade is, well, we'll test it. Since we got a second, we're gonna play what's darker, Athonian camo shade or military shader. It actually appears military shader is much darker. So I think we'll maybe go with military shader. Or maybe we'll mix them. So I think here, I think I'm gonna have to touch up his little paw again. Basically, by touching it up over and over again, I'm creating its kind of transitions and highlights. Although I still intend to put a Agrax Earth shade on it. Well, let's jump over to the chat. Anybody got any questions in the chat? Feel free. I've been going on for exactly 40 minutes. Well, about 40 minutes. He's getting there. He feels far from being done because once I wash him, it's going to be quite a while before I could like start dry brushing the highlights. So that's kind of the problem or the failure, I guess, of the bear tonight as far as the speed paint goes, because the base is soaking wet with ink. He's still a little wet in a few areas, but enough that if I cover him in a wash, those areas are probably going to bleed a little too much. Basically underneath his arms really is the heaviest part, maybe a little bit under his neck. And his neck's looking pretty dry. It's kind of under his arms. So we got to let him dry for a bit. And he's going to be washed. And then I got to let that dry before I could start really highlighting him. Now, when that's drying, we could work on the base and the eyes and stuff. So we do have some things we can, and eventually I can wash the claws. Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, yeah, I think he actually does look pretty cool already. I don't think he's like looks finished, but as just like a kind of forest or swamp owlbear, you know, if he was dry, had some tufts and stuff on his base, maybe a little dry brushing on his base, eyes finished. Yeah, I think you're right. He would look pretty good. I think we'll try to get a little bit of black here and yeah, there we go. Darken in his mouth. Now I don't like it all the way black, so I'm gonna take some of this kind of maroon color. Yeah, that's good. Sure, why not? But yeah, I'm excited to actually, once he's washed, to start pulling out some highlights. And I might pull him out into a bright green, which could look pretty cool, because then he will look like just this marauding parakeet of death. Might have to change the title of the video after to painting a owl or a parakeet bear. We'll get the eyes done after we wash his fur or feathers. If you're watching at home right now, would be a good time to take a cookie break if you bought cookies at the grocery store, unlike me. All right, I think we're going to go for it and just wash him. I think that's what we're going to do. I think he's good enough. We're going to go ahead and mix. We're going to take a big scoop of Athonian camo shade. And I don't know why I said scoop. I could just use a dropper. This model's from the Nolzer's Marvelous Miniatures by WizKids. If you just search WizKids Owlbear, he'll show up. Oh, Brush and Quill's in the building. What's going on, man? Yeah, we're trying kind of a swamp bear. He's kind of parakeety. And he's just basically blocked in with some contrast paint and stuff. He's not really been highlighted or nothing. All right, we'll go about half camo shade. Half military shader. Maybe we'll take a little bit of that burnt umber, transparent burnt umber. That seems good. And I might regret this, but we're going to try the airbrush thinner. So we'll try it. See if we can, how it works thinning out our wash. The only thing I'm worried, oh, kind of put a lot. I'm a little worried that the airbrush thinner is going to extra reactivate any wet paint on the model. Like, I mean, maybe the flow improver, water, whatever, do the same thing, but something about the thinner makes me wonder if it's going to really reactivate it, but we'll go slowly. I think we'll start with the face. And I think we're going to go over the whole thing. Yeah. And this should tie him together really well. And then when we'll dry brush on some highlights, and then we can pop out. Oh my God, is that a white? No, it's just okay. I was like, is it showing a white spot? But no, it's actually just some weird piece of something. I'm gonna do it as under his arms at the end. I have a feeling they're not 100% dry. Yeah, I think this is working pretty good. Hopefully we made enough to cover the whole bear. I don't know if he's more bear or more owl. I didn't see anybody answer, but if anybody knows if the owl bear can fly, let us know. If you're watching in the future, leave it in the comments if the owl bear can fly. A little worried I'm going to run out of this wash, but I think I'll be okay. Now, see, that overall wash is like taking the brown, green, and kind of bone green color and just blending it all together with like a thin layer of basically a brown green, right? We mix some green brown with the military shader, the camo shade, and a little bit of extra transparent brown. So I'm kind of taking all the colors I've been using already, applying a wash over the whole thing. And I always think this looked good on like a monster or fur as a way to tie all that fur and stuff together and say, you know, this is all on the same guy, in the same lighting, in the same environment. All right, we're going to try to get underneath here with the remaining bit of our wash. And hopefully don't reactivate any extra wet areas. Also, this wash on the light parts in kind of the more shadow areas, basically those areas are done because now they're the lighter paint, but they've been washed, so they're darkened down, so they're going to look like they're in shadow even more when we dry brush. Look at that there. I think that really, I mean, I think this happened with the other bear too, but that alone right there, all of a sudden I think he looks way more uniform and like coherent. On that one, Zane, I think the question would just be what you want the money for, really. I mean, it would be a good way to fund your hobby as far as if you sold painted miniatures and then use that money to buy more miniatures for yourself, or maybe a mix, you know, sometimes for yourself, sometimes to sell, and it kind of keep your hobby budget maybe under control a little bit. Oh, I think we can go Agrax Earthshade right now on his little paws. Or on his talons, just while everything's wet. That'll be fine. And we'll just take the little makeup brush. This is one of my wash brushes. It's like a makeup brush that's got a lot of different washes dried on, but it doesn't even have much of a tip anymore, barely even moves. But for some reason it holds a decent amount of the, like it holds it almost on the end like a drop, even though it's like all dried, and it has just enough, like just enough wiggle room on the tip to kind of move and manipulate the wash where you want it to go. Not worried about an overspill or anything there. Especially not on the base. It's so muddy. I might even put it back on his paw a little bit too. Maybe that'll blend it in with the fur behind it a little bit, just in case there's any kind of difference. Although I'm pretty sure the camo shade is like Agrax Earthshade plus green. So there's definitely a white spot that I gotta fix now. We'll go all the way back to Wildwood. Zenithville undercoating for the first time yesterday. Only had black and gray. Yeah, actually, so I don't even really use white primer anymore for the white part of the Zenithal. I go straight to the white ink, the FW white ink. So you can go black and then gray and then this through the airbrush. It doesn't even really need to be thinned. It's just white acrylic ink. And this is how I usually do the white of my Zenithal prime. It goes through smooth. It puts on beautiful layers. And you can even just go black primer and then straight to this. and then just build it up. So where you slowly build it up, you get gray, and where you do a second pass, you get white. So definitely check out the FW white ink. Heck, I mean, if you sell off a bunch of stuff and get some extra hobby money, you could always just put it away and wait until an army catches your eye, or a new game, new specialty game, maybe like a Warcry type game. I think I really want to start selling off a bunch of my extra stuff that just feels like it'll never be worked on. Oh, owlbear can fly poorly. He doesn't look very aerodynamic. Flying holding 50 pounds seems pretty impressive. I mean, I don't know how much. He probably weighs 600 pounds. I don't know. Oh, did you do a zenithal with dry brushing it on? So we got these guys. I'll just show them a little bit. I've been playing with the airbrush and some gold paints for the swooping hawks. They're going to be kind of a yellow gold. And I was kind of playing with doing like purples underneath. And then I got to redo the kind of yellow golds from above. But trying to get the unit of 10 swooping hawks to a level I can start working on them. And then we'll probably be working on them quite a bit. Hopefully I'll have the motivation to just go right through them and finish the whole squad. Oh yeah, I did the rattle can too with the Rust-Oleum. I don't even like the white Rust-Oleum. If I was doing the rattle can, I would do black and gray. I feel like I get kind of a chalky effect with white. Or you could do like black and gray, or just black, gray, and then if you had like the GW, like Gray Seer or something. Although those cans are expensive. Here's the bear. He's washed. Basically, he's ready to be dry brushed and highlighted. Maybe we'll take a small brush here and see if we can work a little bit on his eyeballs. We cannot, because I just got some wash that's still wet. Goblin green, dead flesh, white. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like what I just did. I'm going to try to erase it with some of that wash. All right, that's better. I was thinking about doing some highlighting stripes on his little whiskers, but I think it'd be better to dry brush that on and then pick out an additional highlight with the little brush. But we probably could get some of this bone color. This is kind of a tap highlight where I tap it like that across the surface. Purposely trying to leave some little gaps. Little gaps, like so, maybe no gaps in the taps No gaps in the taps towards the tip of the talon, and then a little bit of a gap, almost like the line is breaking up. And I think that's a pretty quick and effective speed paint highlight technique, especially for bone. But I use it for pretty much everything. When you look at it like real close, it might not, well, on camera it looks pretty good, but you know, on the tabletop it's gonna look pretty good. And I might mix a little bit of white in with that bone color. And do a few more little taps just towards the tip. And that one additional highlight makes them really pop. And he's got his claws going. Couple more dots, if anything seemed uninteresting there. All right, let's go back to the light blue and see if we can't capture a little bit more on these eyes. This might actually be too bright. It's probably too bright. Probably wash that with something. Set it back a little bit. It's too. The last thing you ever want on a miniature is to use white on your eye, unless it's a tiny little dot reflection, because it makes it look like googly eyes, and we don't want googly eyes. Unless you want googly eyes, then go for it, but usually you want like a gray or a bone color for your eyes. I think it's probably not totally unrealistic that I could dry brush some of that base. Gun Corpse Brown. Oh, they're 1,500 pounds. Wow. Yeah, I was like, I don't know, 600 pounds. Have a go and brush and quill. Yeah, I bought a can of that. What is it called? Gray Seer, and it really does hurt your soul spending all that on a can of primer. But I wanted to try it, and actually, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I'm not happy with the price. I think I'd better off just using a rattle can or airbrush. But I wanted to try the official, contrast paint primer. I'm going with the size 1 Ghost Dry Brush, Gun Corpse Brown. This was the original. This always looks good. Almost always anyway. Go with a color, like a light base color. In this case, Gun Corpse Brown. Then we washed it with brown inks and stuff. And then we're going to go back and dry brush it with the original color that we used. And it doesn't look like it wants to pick up right away, but I think some of it's still wet. But we're just going to try to put some light areas. But yeah, by using the same color that I started with as my highlight color, it gets just kind of a natural look. And I think we'll go with, I kind of like this green gray of the ion rack skin. And I just wet my dry brush to wash it, which now potentially is going to make this almost like a wet brush because the brush is not dry anymore. But we'll see. Should be okay. We're going to do a light touch. Okay, that's apparently not dry enough to even take a dry brush. It's just mixing. Yeah, this guy tonight is just, our dry time balance has not been very good. I've been going, I think, just about exactly over an hour. So let's say an hour and 5 minutes, I think I've been going. So this is where we got in an hour. Honestly, once I figure out the eye, some dry brush highlight and dry brush on the base, he's done. Glue some basing to him. So he's going to take a little longer. Most of this, though, like you've seen, is just, or not most of it, but there's quite a bit of dry time we got to wait for, especially when we're slapping contrast paint and washes down, which is fine. So that's why I was saying in the other videos, if I was working on two bears at the same time, doing them the same way, that'd be way more efficient for, you know, if you're painting models to sell. Like I am going to paint him for sale, but it would have been way more efficient, obviously, if I had two, I was doing the exact same way. So while one's drying, I could work on the other. But I was thinking maybe for the video, it'd be more interesting to probably just watch one bear get finished. I don't know, maybe two would be okay. But he's looking pretty good now that the washes are drying. You can still see some is wet. He's got kind of a unique, we did a little bit different of a pattern. Let me grab, maybe not. Let me grab the other bear. So here's this friend that we did last time. So we kind of going to keep the same facial hair colors. The green guy kind of got a dark stripe to separate the light feathers. So, and this green guy's not highlighted yet. So pretty close in markings. It's just one of those, I think it's just an effective way to do the bear, really. And I think it's just because I painted two of these bears already in the past that I kind of just decided I like doing it this way. So yeah, if you were doing 3 bears, but like if you're doing different colors, you're benefiting from the speed of like being able to work on something while something's drying, or the efficiency, but you're not necessarily benefiting from, you know, you still got to solve color problems, like which red am I going to use, which red am I going to highlight it with, which am I going to wash it with, And then when you move to the yellow one, you got to kind of figure that out again. Which yellow am I going to use? I think if you planned it out a little bit, you could probably, get it going pretty good. But it'd be better or faster, more efficient if you did like 3 red bears, or if I did 2 or 3 of these the exact same way. And then when you sell them on eBay, you'll list 1, right? So let's just say I'm only paying 1 of these, but let's say I painted 2 of these at the exact same time. I'll just put 1 up for sale and wait. And then if he sells at whatever price, then after I ship him, maybe a day later, or maybe later that day, who knows, maybe a week later, whatever, I'll put up the next one. So it's not like if I painted 100 of these, maybe I'd have a few different colored ones up, but I wouldn't list all 100 at one time. The kind of supply and demand, I guess. Unless you had 100 different ones, then that's not terrible, right? Yeah, the GW primer is really nice. That's the thing I hate about it, is it's actually nice, but the price is just kind of ridiculous. So I think we could probably put a little bit of a highlight on his beak. I don't want to go, I'm going to take a little bit of white, mix it with some of that yellow that we kind of reactivated, which I accidentally just got a little bit of green in it. Trying to make this kind of a pastel lemon color. And it's a pretty subtle highlight. I don't think I'm going to paint on the other one I did kind of like he has teeth. This one I'm not going to do that. But I think I might actually take some of this random red mixture, mix it with some of this kind of dark mixture. And go again a little bit redder inside his mouth. Yeah, I guess that's true. I always expect people just buy 1. But yeah, maybe you would do 2 of each. You could list like 2 of each. At the off chance, maybe they're like looking to get 2 owlbears. All right, we're going with Algae Secret Weapon. I'm just going to put it right on top of this bottle cap. I think I'll move this paper away for now. 1 drop of algae. I'm going to take water. So I'm going to mix the algae in the water. Then I'm just going to dip my brush over here and mix a new area with just basically water with whatever remaining algae. So I've really, really thinned it down. I didn't even need a full drop. And I'm going to wash the eyes. Ooh, that's cool. There you go. Tone those eyes down. Now they're not nearly as googly eye. I haven't done the pupils yet, or the pupils and the highlights though. I can always get crazy. Well, my thought though, if I'm charging like $50 for the bear, I just don't know if a DM or GM is going to want to spend $150 to get his encounter. Maybe. We're just trying to, yeah. Because I'm using kind of a damp paper towel and my dry brush isn't dry anymore, we're getting actually kind of a wet brush effect. Which is fine. Yeah. Dry brush probably look a little better, but yeah, it's pretty good. You get some kind of rockiness. We can remember we got the power of static grass and tufts and things like that too. So no stress on that. We can cover up anything we don't like. Yeah, I don't actually own any more OWLBEARs for now. Maybe I'll get 2 more when stores open back up. But I'll have to finish that unit of Swooping Hawks before I worry about painting any more OWLBEARs. But if these two, I put up the brown one on eBay, so maybe I'll put him up at the same time, and maybe if they both sell, I'll try to get some more OWLBEARs. That way I could have them listed. And one of the main reasons I do the OWLBEARs, it's not like I do it every day. This is my 4th one I've done, but I have sold 2, and they're pretty fun to paint, and they're pretty easy to paint. You get a pretty good time for, especially for the stream. I think they're a good model for the stream because you can really see it come together pretty quick. Now here comes everybody's favorite part. I'm going to use Death World Forest. I'm going to use the new one. The old one looked a little sketchy. And in fact, I think I'm just going to throw away the old one, because this doesn't look good. So I think that's just going to go in the garbage. I'm going to switch to the Big Daddy size 2 Ghost Dry Brush. The bear is $5. The WizKid D&D models are all like $5, except for the big ones. They're like $15. I don't know if this is, I don't think it's bright enough. Actually, it's probably bright enough to, yeah, so this Death World Forest is going to be bright enough to highlight the brown, to dry brush the brown. So we'll use it. Mainly just on the brown areas. To hopefully put a little bit of a green highlight tint in the brown areas. And maybe that'll help the next layer look a little more. All right. The other part it didn't really seem to do anything to was his eyebrows. See, this is what the dry brush should be doing. The other one, once it's wet, and I was using a wet paper towel, we're not getting the desired effects. Trying to go all kind of downward direction or left to right, but trying never to brush upward. A few accidental upward brush strokes here and there. Not the end of the world, but that's going to reduce the visual of looking like it's in shadow from below. All right, yeah, that's... All right, now I'm not going to wash this dry brush because I don't want to get it wet and then wet brush this next step. So I think we either go ochre and camo. No, I think we're going to go, this might be a mistake. This part's always a little scary. We're going to go with Nurgling Green. It's been hit with the airbrush on accident, but I don't know if I have another better suited green. I think P3 makes a pretty decent. P3 has Thrall Flesh, but it's not really green. Yeah, he's a pretty, I mean, he's not super detailed, but he's a pretty cool little ball of rubber for $5. All right, now this one, I'm going to mix it in the same circle that I made with the Death World, just so if any's remaining, it will darken this a little bit. We're going to use this mainly on the green areas. Remember, I'm going in, down, back, up, like that. So down, off, over, down, off, over. That's to keep dry brushing in the same direction. Oh yeah, this one's a little more effective. We'll put a little bit of it on this brown area too, and then hopefully because of that first step, it blends in nicely. I think if you did, say, a tropical owlbear, like a red one, the trick, I think, would be it's not as red as you probably think it should be. I think you would want to use like really muted brown reds and then pop out your red highlights with brighter reds, more saturated reds. I think that would sell it way better. I'd be worried if you did like a all red bear and then, you know, it's like fire truck red, it'd be too red. Now I don't, is ochre and camo lighter? Not really. All right, and then I think for the last one, still haven't washed this brush yet, but we're gonna go Ushabti Bone. Right onto the same spot. This has helped creating a, you know, a little bit of a transitional blend, assuming that any paint on the paper towel is still wet and mixing. And it gives us an idea of what it's going to look like before we put it on the model. Now this one, we're going to just try to keep it right on the whiter color. Get his little mustache. A little bit on his head here. Definitely his neck and chest. Doesn't have to go all the way under, but. And if we got enough without having to reload, hopefully we can get this wing as well. Yeah, I think we're in business. I think that's a good looking owl bear. Oh, we haven't done his eyes yet. Okay, now I'm going to wash this brush. Now these big dry brushes take a little bit extra time to clean because they hold a lot of water, they hold a lot of paint. You really want to make sure you keep swishing it around and working that paint out. Generally after this, I actually will wash the dry brushes with the brush soap, give it a little extra clean. You can see there, oh no you can't, but I'm still getting paint out of this. Still getting pigment out of this, and I've rinsed it 3 times already. I almost always think painting the rim of a base black is the correct answer in almost every situation. I think sometimes other colors look okay, but black always looks good. I think of the rim of the base as basically the whatchamacallit, oh, dropping stuff, sorry, as like the frame, the picture frame. The biggest mistake is using a color found in the model on the rim of the base unless it's black. So like, let's say now I painted the rim of the base Death Forest or Death World Forest. It would just look like godly terrible because you would see that color all over him and then it'd circle him. And then when you're painting color on a model, it's like you're saying this material is that color. So if I use this green on this base, I'm saying the rim of this base is made of the same thing as this shoulder. And of course we don't want to say that. Whereas if I just paint it black, I'm just saying it's it's not there. It's just nothing. It's just a black frame. I would go with black base and dry brush silver over it if you wanted like a brushed metal look. I'm going to take this light kind of blue color on this really beat up brush. This is kind of the color we originally used on the eye. And I'm just going to see if we can't decide a few more bright areas on these rocks. That's good. I think he's ready for, let's see, we need the darkest blue we have, which I think is dark sea blue. I'm going to take a little dark sea blue. Probably mix it with some black. And try maybe a little bit of water. For sure, a little bit of water. So this is dark sea blue and black. Maybe a little more black. Probably a little more water. I can tell it's not. Oh. And we'll just kind of see if we can't put in a pupil that looks decent. It's always a little scary to put the pupil in on these guys because their eyes are so big. And once again, back to what I was saying about the googly eyes. Giant eyes with giant pupils. I mean, that's a googly eye. So we're trying to make that effect a little more subtle. Keeping adding black into it. So it's almost like a really black blue. And I think that's pretty good. I don't know if they're quite black enough. Maybe we'll do a little bit of almost pure black. Oh. So that's like an almost pure black, and we're trying to actually get it towards even the center of our black pupil. Okay, there's something. Now we'll take some white and this kind of light blue color we were messing around with, mixing up. And I'm gonna put a light blue swoop in the bottom of his eye. Give it a little more color. And I think that's pretty good. I'll say that's good enough. I don't know how, let's see, goblin green, some kind of dead flesh color. We got the brush kind of wiped off. Put some little extra highlights on his kind of mustache. And hopefully that extra light on his mustache will help draw the attention to his face. And we'll put a little extra light on his forehead. That just gives him a little more pop in his face. So basically tell the viewer, hey, look at his face. And I think, I don't know if, let me put some out and see. Debating if I want to put some green pop colors on him. I play 40K. I have AdMech, Space Marines, and I'm working on Eldar. So I'm doing some, this is just the early airbrush stage, but I just finished the Dire Avengers. I'm going to be working on some Swooping Hawks next. We were playing Gaslands before the quarantine. That was fun. Play Necromunda. I did play AOS for a while, but I don't like the way it went. I think it got a little too crazy. What else? We play some like dungeon crawl board games, me and my friends. I just actually ordered a box of Warcry, one of the gangs from Warcry. So I'm going to be painting up the Warcry team, and maybe after the quarantine, getting a chance to play some Warcry. Yeah, I mean, if you can just put it up on eBay, and if it sells, it sells. And if it doesn't, then you got a cool model for your collection. Yeah, 40K, I've started AdMech at the beginning, 8th edition, and I really do love them. I tried to fall in love with Thousand Suns and Slaanesh and iGuard and Tyranids and Space Marines, and I kind of fell off on them. I'm still keeping all my Slaanesh, but I'm going to be selling off like the iGuard and Tyranids and Thousand Suns. Yeah, when I say all my friends, there's basically like 4 of us that will play. The game store is busy, but about, me and 3 other guys almost always play games with each other, whether that be 40K against each other or board games with each other or whatever. And the 3 other guys actually have Warcry stuff, and I just was like, nope, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I don't want it. I don't want another game. And then during this quarantine, I've been kind of on a painting kick, and I was like, you know what? I could probably actually have a fully painted warband before we even get a chance to play again. And decided I'll give it a shot. So I'm curious if I take this Goblin Green. I think I need to dull it down. We're going to use some transparent burnt umber mixed with Goblin Green, which is too brown. So we'll take some white, put a little more green, a little more white, a little more green. That might be something. I kind of am tempted, though. Maybe we'll mix it with a little bit of a brighter green. I'm tempted to push the saturation. Oh, okay. There we go. Got my brush kind of twisted weird. Just put a little extra green in his face. Maybe just up here on his shoulder. So it's like maybe right here on these kind of collar feathers, maybe a little bit there. So it's almost like we're boosting the contrast. I don't know if that's really even visible on camera, but it's just a hint of a little extra green. I think, hold on. Let's go with crushed grass from Vallejo. I don't like using this stuff. Well, actually, this one's not too bad. Some of these, I do like these, but they're almost easier to use before. This one doesn't, I don't think this one actually dries to look like crushed grass though. But we're gonna just put some of it. I'm afraid though it's gonna be a little too close to the color of the bear. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the color of the bear is because of the crushed grass that he lives around or something. I don't know. Trying to smush it on and create texture and anything interesting that we can with our crushed grass. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with Warcry when it came out because it doesn't have like a real campaign system like a Necromunda or Blood Bowl or like old Mordheim. The campaign system in Warcry seems like, oh, if you win your game, you get a reroll next game. You know, like there's no lasting injuries and stuff, I don't think. But after some of the expansions, they may have added a little bit of that. Okay, here we go. We got mud and grass. Maybe we'll try some of this. Apparently, I haven't even opened this. It looks exactly the same, just brown. I don't know if you're supposed to maybe dig all the way to the bottom of the bottle. Oh no, this one has a little more fibrous materials in it. So we'll put the mud on. Kind of in just the same area where the other one is, and hopefully it just kind of blends together. This one for sure, any spots on his feet. Maybe we'll put a little bit up here on his paws. That way any spots on his feet we don't like, or just to sell the effect a little bit, we'll make sure we put a little bit of this mud on his heels. Make it look like he's stomping around in here. Cool. I feel like when you use these kind of weathering effects, you always, before you paint anything else, you know, I'll finish him, of course, but when you paint something else, you want to end up switching your water. I bought the unmade. They're the ones that like cut off their hands and feet and strap like knives to them, and they cut off their face. My choice was between them, the Corvus Cabal, which is the crow looking guys, or the snake gladiators. And I know one of my friends has the snake gladiators already painted. So, and I figured I might get those Corvus Cabal guys eventually one day anyway, because they're so cool that maybe I'll just go with the unmade because I've never seen anybody playing with them, and they look so crazy. They're like the craziest miniatures. We're doing FW white ink. Dot on the tip of the paintbrush. Nice big dot. Trying to get it perfectly on the black and blue at the same time. There he goes. Probably can't see him, but he's got a little highlight in his eye now. And I think we go over to Tufts. Get the super glue. I know exactly where I want to put the first one. These Tufts are a little old, but I always use super glue on them anyway. I want to put one right there. These ones have kind of a rich brown. So we might actually end up using some wash or something on these Tufts to try to blend them in a little better. We'll try to get that one inside there. Yeah, maybe one more. We don't actually have any of the little ones left. I used them on something else, I guess. Maybe right in there. All right, he's got his Tufts going. Could go flowers. I always like doing the flowers. I actually have some weird stuff. Let me see if I can find it. You can't see me, but I'm looking for it. Oh, yeah, there it is. I got this stuff from the model store, the Leechin or whatever. I don't know what it's called. I never honestly think it looks all that good, but he is the swamp troll, so we'll just break off a piece and mush it on. Because this stuff, I think, doesn't look as natural, we'll for sure put some wash or something on it. I guess in this instance, it's not too bad for kind of selling a weird, swampy environment. Kind of just ripping off a little bundle and putting a blob of super glue and just kind of mashing it in. And luckily I'm wearing gloves, so I'm not super gluing my finger to the base every single time. But I'm not sure why I haven't super glued the glove on yet. That'll probably happen right now. Oh, that might be a little too much on that one. Yep, that's where we're going to super glue our. We might trim that one off a little bit when it dries. Yeah, I got like a whole big bag of this stuff. Never really use it. Just don't feel like I get a ton of great effects from it. Although this time it seems pretty good. If we could just mash it down. Yeah, there we go. Probably just have to clip off that one spot. So actually, I think if we kind of agrax that a little bit, it'll tie it in pretty good. Yeah, the unmade, they're like self-torturers. They worship chaos by like causing themselves agony, or maybe causing everybody agony. But they're so crazy looking. They're just like super wild. The crow ones, I figure I have a bunch of Cawdor guys, a couple boxes of Cawdor. So next time I feel like working on a Necromunda gang, I'll start painting up my Cawdor Necromunda guys. And that's when I'll probably buy the Corvus Cabal guys, because they make really cool conversions for Cawdor Necromunda guys too. I've seen people do that. So yeah, I think also too with Warcry, I want to approach it like, everybody playing has to be playing it for like narrative, fun, just have a good time type game. Because I really don't think that game's going to be balanced very well. It just seems very unlikely that it's balanced at all. I'm not 100% sure, but so anybody trying to min-max the gameplay, I think potentially ruins it for everybody. So hopefully, everybody we're playing with is, going to try to have a good time and not worry too much about the win at all cost or anything like that. Which is fine if you're playing like a tournament or something, I guess, but I don't really know if tournament Warcry is a thing. And if it is, it's certainly not something I've thought about. Maybe one day I'll try it if I get into the game, though. Kind of just putting the paints away. I think he's done. I would paint the rim of his base black right now, but I have the super glue and that lichen stuff or whatever it's called, the kind of moss stuff. So I just don't want to risk if there's any super glue overhanging that's still wet on the base. I don't want to ruin a brush by swiping it through some super glue. So I think he took, just a little under 2 hours. Man, if you got 2 Marines and bases done, that's good. About a Marine an hour. With this guy here. You know what? Actually, I'm going to put one more dot on his eye. It's a risk. You probably can't see it on camera, but I'm going to try to put a smaller dot underneath the big dot. Oh, yeah. Perfect. Gives it almost like that really good sparkle. In a sense, it's kind of like how a chibi would maybe be highlighted. Can't really get the eyes to show up. The 2 white dots on his eye actually make the pupil look triangular on camera, but you can kind of see him there. Yeah, he's pretty cool. I think he's pretty fun. I would have never tried this without you, Zane, recommending the Swamp Owlbear. I think he came out pretty cool. I wouldn't be surprised if he sells faster than the other one, simply for the fact that people have seen brown owlbears, but they maybe haven't seen the Swamp Owlbear. I'm going to take my glasses off. Oh, stretch out. But yeah, there we go. I think that's about it. I mean, let's say he sells for $50 or so. It's about $25 an hour. That's a pretty good job. Not to mention, like I said, a lot, there was quite a bit of time spent just waiting for paint to dry. So I could have probably had 2 done in about 20 more minutes, I bet. About only maybe 20 more minutes worth of work. And I probably could have had 2 done at the exact same time just because of the dry time situation. Yeah, I like the fact that he's pretty muted. I got to do the rim of the base black and then matte coat him. But his muted color scheme looks really cool. I don't think I went too yellow on his beak, so it's kind of yellow, just as like what you would think of a cartoon bird or whatever. I don't know if owls really ever have yellow beaks, but I think the kind of white feathers or off-white green bone color feathers look pretty good. The green and browns blended together pretty good once the dry brush was on there. He's got some interesting kind of pattern. I always wonder if I should paint his little tail. You see he's got a little tiny tail. I always wonder if I should draw attention to that. I just always kind of don't and just let it be a dark little tail. But it could have been like a little white cotton butt thing. I think we'll trim that there. We'll do that right now. There we go. But yeah, we're gonna, just to be safe, let the super glue dry. I'll probably just let it dry overnight. And then maybe I can get them matte coated tomorrow. Yeah, it's amazing how fast because super glue is reactive to moisture. So once it goes, a damp paintbrush slides right through it, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh no, got a damaged paintbrush, potentially destroyed. Now, some of the brushes, obviously, that I've been using, the Ghost Brush 6 here, I've been using this one for a really long time now, probably a year, maybe at least 6 months, if not longer. Still got it somewhat of a decent point. But if it got damaged, once too much paint gets in the ferrule and the tip splits or whatnot, I happen to have thousands of them. So, but even though I have thousands, I don't just throw them away. I use them until they're absolutely no good anymore. What are you soaking it in when you're soaking it? Rubbing alcohol? I'm trying to get my glove off without making too much squeaky rubber noises. Even these gloves, these have been the same gloves on every stream. You get a box of 200, but it's just the way I am. I'll just reuse things until I think, they're not like paper towels or anything in my own kitchen, or Kleenexes or stuff like that. But with hobby supplies, I'll reuse the paper towel for a little bit, or these rubber gloves I'm going to use probably one more time, maybe. I don't know, kind of sweating in them tonight a little bit here. I don't even know how water would get the super glue off, to be honest. It doesn't seem like it would ever work, but I guess it picking on it, got it all good. All right. Yeah, so this bear is done. The next up on camera, probably not any kind of speed paint, but the golden swooping hawks. Probably airbrush their highlight. They got kind of their shadows done. Where's a good focus point for the golden boy? Maybe there. Got some purples from below. And then I'll go gold, pure gold from above, and then probably yellower gold from above. So yeah, I think I'll probably spray the gold from above tonight. Maybe get all the spraying done. They're going to need a wash. No, I'll probably base coat some stuff and then do some oil washes. So I'll probably do a lot of that on stream, actually. But yeah, as always, make sure you subscribe if you're want to support, and shop on Amazon. Before you go shopping on Amazon, use one of my links in any of my video descriptions. And if you buy anything, I'll get a commission, basically. It doesn't cost you extra. I got the Patreon. We don't have a ton of action going over on the Patreon right now. I do some, if you sign up, I give away some stuff. But I was trying to get to $50 a month to do giveaways. I'm at like 25 or something right now. And please thumbs up, comment, like the videos. That always helps. And I think that's it for tonight. We got about 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, the unmade, I think I get them in maybe a week or so. I don't know when they're shipping to me. So it's possible after I finish the swooping hawks, maybe work on one unit of, or not a unit, but a couple more Deep Madness miniatures. So we got these monsters for Deep Madness I need to paint up. Maybe do a little character or something, and then I'll probably work on the unmade guys on stream too. Yeah, thanks guys for joining in and chatting with me and keeping it entertaining. As always, I'll see you later. Thank you so much. Good luck finishing your squad.